Randy. I can't hear you. I can hear you talking. I know what you're saying.
I can hear you just fine.
Randy, let's talk a little louder.
This is what you get.
No, just a little.
Can you guys hear me back there?
Yes. Yes.
Russ, can you hear me okay? Or is it just
It depends on whether or not someone else is speaking in my other ear.
I can't hear anything,
She's
Randy.
just losing it a little bit. We understand that. For any of you that are hard of hearing, there are some closer tables to the speakers up here. So, hey, just a couple things and then we'll get going. Some people did kind of come in late. We are not paying really good attention to who's paying or not. So if you still need to pay, take care of that. And there are the CDs that we want to mail out to everybody. I don't have anybody's mailing address. So we do have a sign-up sheet over here. And if you want a CD, just sign up and give us your contact information. Marilee?
Do you want us to put it on the clipboard and send it to the tables?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. That would be great. And when we're done with this little short program, which should be less than an hour and a half long, we do have some cake. Yeah, you're part of it. We do have cake up here that we'd like to cut up. Well, you guys saw the cake, but we put some new Outlook pictures on the cake, and that will be our dessert. So we'll do that when we're done with the program. And we still should have an hour, or a little over an hour, for some more talking time. And we have to be out of here by 3 o'clock.
Yes.
And so it's a little bit before 1, so we really have a lot of time left to go. So if you look at the program, we talked about a vocal warm-up because we didn't know if we needed to do a bunch of la-la-las and all of that stuff for the singers. We thought, nah, that's not gonna help. And then, did I really say that out loud? So the quartet, we're going to go out of sequence a little bit. The quartet has asked if they can sing first. So they can get out of here before the rest of the singing starts. So I'd like to invite the quartet up here to sing a couple of songs.
Back in the 70s, when we actually wore red check dresses and some really cool hats. Yeah, they were a little short. You have to speak up. We sang a lot of barbershop music, and so a lot of people would have called us a barbershop quartet, but we went by GBGBQ, and that meant Galilee Baptist Girls Barbershop Quintet, because we had our 5th member who was always with us, for whom we sang, but everybody always didn't see him physically next to us. So we had a lot of fun, and hopefully you'll have a lot of fun listening to Ma. He's making eyes at me. Little Lily was oh so silly and shy, and all the fellows knew she wouldn't bill and coo. Every single night some smart fellow would try to cuddle up to her, but she would cry, she would cry. Ma, he's making eyes at me. Ma, he's awful nice to me. Ma, he's almost breaking my heart. I'm beside him, mercy, let his conscience guide him. Ma, he wants to marry me. Be my honey bee. Every minute he gets bolder, now he's leaning on my shoulder. Mom, he's kissing me. Oh, to marry me, be my honeybee. My meeting with resistance, I shall holler for assistance. Ma, he's kissing me right now. Ma, he's kissing me. There was one infamous night, I think we were somewhere in Oregon, that we got to that last line and Gordy Hawn stood up and gave Terry a big kiss. And we almost died. You're awesome.
Yes, that's how I hear it.
Because the Lord is my shepherd, I have everything that I need. He lets me rest in meadows green and leads me beside the quiet stream. He keeps on giving life to me and helps me to do what honors Him the most. Even when walking through the dark valley of death, I will never be afraid, for He is close beside me, guiding all the way. He spreads a feast before me in the presence of mine enemies. He welcomes me as His special guest, now with blessings overflowing. His goodness and unfailing kindness shall be with me all of my life, and afterwards I will live with Him forever, forever, in His home, forever in His home, His home, His home.
Very nice. Very nice. Don, I think we'll do Tell Me the Story of Jesus, and Don would like to lead that song. And we'd just like to have the new outlookers just stand where you're at and just sing. And Don will lead us. And I'm not sure how the music is going to work. Colin, are you going to just start the music and we sing along with the music? Is there like an intro or a warm-up? Okay. Okay, so all the new outlookers need to stand. At least those that want to sing. We were just trying to have you just stand. For the last two songs, we want to get everybody up here. Because we're going to be having some sharing in between. Just a second. We're still milling, just a minute. Once you get them to start standing, they won't be quiet. Okay, so you might have to play the music a little loud. Okay, you guys ready? Here's Uncle Don.
Yeah, I am, right there.
hear Claudia? You can hear just fine. That, you guys sounded great. It reminded me, because I never was in the singing group, I was always running the microphones way far away, so I got to hear it all the time. I haven't heard that story, I haven't heard that song in 45-ish years. So Marshall's going to share a couple of words with us right now, and then we'll do it. You guys did great.
Well, I am so glad that we're going to have an open mic a little later, and I just sort of consider this the first of the open mic contributions. Just a few free association memories that come back as I look out over these spaces. My association with what was New Outlook actually began the year previously when we went to Albuquerque as Caravans for Christ. And the memory of that was sleeping on hardwood floors on the, this was back when missions trips were really missions trips. Yeah, none of these creature comforts like pillows and blankets. No. This was hardwood floors. As I recall, sleeping under pews at some of these churches, trying to find a comfortable position to sleep in when you're, and we learned that if you put your feet up on the pew and your back was flat on the sloping floor, you could sort of get some sleep. But that first year in Albuquerque, I think we stayed at the home of Ralph and Louie Peterson, and I'm so grateful that they're here. It was an eye-opener for me because that was the year when I really felt like the high school group began to come together on not just a social level but on a spiritual level. I remember Bob and Don and Karen Dryden and Peggy Wild and some others. We sat up late at night. This was shortly after I think we had walked through a sliding glass door, and we cracked the glass. And I just said, "We just got to tell Ralph and Louie that the glass was so clean that we didn't even know it was there. So it really wasn't our fault. They shouldn't have cleaned the glass quite as good as they did." But that night we were sitting around, and I remember it was the first time that I had experienced what the scriptures call confession. We began to just share with one another our fears, weaknesses, shortcomings, and I thought, do you really do that in high school? And we did, and it was a holy moment, and it was really the beginning of recognizing that Christ is in us, and Christ works in and through us, and it was an eye-opening experience, and I deeply appreciate that. The next year was the year that Caravans for Christ morphed into New Outlook, and we took a trip to Phoenix, Arizona. And those of you who've seen the pictures know that the 70s are not a good fashion decade. This was the year when the guys, whose idea was this anyway? I still want to pin the blame on somebody. The guys wore vertically striped, flared pants. Dark blue Apache body shirts and polo ties. I said, come on, please. But it's unmistakable when you see the vertically striped pants over there. And I learned something. It was a humbling experience because the year before we had gone to First Baptist Church of Salida. Was part of the Caravans for Christ. We had given testimonies, and I remember Bob Frederick standing up at First Baptist Church of Salida talking about the meaninglessness of life and how you could find purpose in your life through Jesus Christ, and his shoe was untied throughout the entire testimony. And I found that highly ironic, and I got a lot of good mileage out of that. But the Lord has a good sense of humor. And the very next year, I was standing up along with everybody else in New Outlook, wearing vertically striped flared pants, a blue body shirt, and an Apache tie, up on a band shell in Encanto Park with hundreds of people who were smoking pot and just sort of not fully there, but listening to our music. And I'm thinking, Bob's untied shoe wasn't that bad. We were presenting the gospel in a ridiculously looking outfit. And, God did it took several years. I didn't get it that year. I didn't get it the following year. I didn't get it the year after that. But eventually along the way, I realized, Marshall, you've got something to learn here. And it's that every one of us is ridiculous in some way. We are all, look at me now. We are all ridiculous creatures, and yet we have within us the glory of God. We have this treasure in earthen vessels, and whether it's shoe untied or vertically striped flared pants, we are what we are, and God chooses to work in us and through us anyway. And that's what I began to learn through New Outlook, and I was really grateful for that. I would also like to say that when I was in New Outlook, Caravans for Christ, playing on the church basketball team with Roger Schuett and David Rice and David Talley and some of the others, playing in a trumpet trio with Don and Bob and singing with all of you guys. I thought, this is normal. This is what every church does, right? And I just thought this was the way church was everywhere. I've learned since, this was an incredibly wonderful experience that we were graced to experience. And I'm just so grateful to Don McPherson for pulling that together. I'm grateful to the Lord for being able to go through what I consider then a very normal experience, but which I have learned ever since has been a very extraordinary experience. Thank you all. Thank you.
We'll do the next song now. He is the way, he is the truth, and he is the life. Can you all see Don good enough when you stand up?
Yeah.
I won't go there.
Well, before we start, I do have to say this about Marshall. Oh, you may not remember this, but I do. Back in the choir, when the kids got their driver's licenses, oh, they were so proud that they passed it around and look at it. And one of the girls got her driver's license. She was so proud of it, passed it all around. Marshall got it and said, "Oh, I see you got an F in sex."
Okay, he is the way. Some of those notes are pretty high. Another one that sounded good. Let's see. Madeline? Madeline, can you share a couple of words?
Are y'all having fun? Yeah, absolutely. This is so neat. And you know, the idea of this is just such a God thing. The way that it all came together, and I think it was at Pastor Frederick's memorial service where a lot of us were gathered, and we thought, gee, this is just incredible. There are a lot of us still around. A lot of us still look back at this time in life as being a really, really special thing. And at the time, Facebook was happening. So I started up a site, and I was amazed with everybody that came in and said, hey, join me up. And then it was in April that we had the idea, oh, let's have a reunion, and Debbie Otter and Randy Kahn, and I did say that right, Debbie Webb Otter, I really, I'm trying to do that. And Mary Lee and Leanna just picked up that ball and just ran with it. So anyway, it's been incredible. And the way I heard that a lot of you were found were, Googling and, unfortunately, obituaries and things like that, where you can find out somebody lives in a certain place. So hats off to you guys who put this together today, because this is really When I was thinking back about New Outlook, and there were two questions that came to me. And the first one was, why us and why them? Because like Bucky Marshall said, sorry. Keep that one away. Okay, as said, it was a special group. And I now live out in Boston, and I live with a lot of the Frozen Chosen. And it's difficult to find a church that really is one that loves the Lord so much as Galilee did and was led in such incredible ways. But I kept remembering Jeremiah 29:11, for I know the plans that I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future. And I thought, that's who we were back in the 70s. God had made us that promise, that he had something special in mind for us, that we had hope, we had a future. And here we all sit today. And as I look around, I just think, wow, how God has done what he said he would do. The celebration of life that we can have today because of what he did in our hearts 40-ish years ago. Right now I'm reading a book, and it's by Mike Breen, and it's called Building a Discipling Culture. And it's a good book because it talks a lot about how we become Christians, how we stay in the faith, how we lead others into the faith. And it's not about all the head knowledge, even though that's important. And we have really good head knowledge. I think at Galilee we had a lot of real practical things too that we were taught. As we learned together and we grew together, I think as a group, there were so many practical times of learning reconciliation, how we forgive each other, how we get into these church pews where we're lying underneath and really go through an entire, how long did we stay out, like a week when we would go on those tours? Yeah, how do we live with 25 other people and not have some kind of conflict? And we were taught in very practical ways how you work out those things in your faith. We had such good direction. I think about Dawn and the way that you loved us, the way that you helped us through difficult times. I learned more practical knowledge from you and from Pastor Frederick's sermons than I can ever describe. It was a special, special thing for us. And the other leaders that we had, Leanna, went with us on a lot of those tours. Elaine, I remember you driving the car when we'd go skiing. And boy, talking about skiing and things like that, we also had a lot of fun. That was part of our culture. We did have a really, really good time. And a lot of you might remember when we went up to Winter Park, it was a snow retreat, and we were supposed to practice. And we did practice a lot. It was also about 10 degrees below zero, I think. But one of the things I remember about that was hearing Uncle Don's little birdie who'd fallen out of the nest story. Now, I don't know if anybody else remembers that story, but Uncle Don, if you're up to it later, maybe you could tell us that story about the little bird who fell out of the nest. Do you remember him?
Yes.
Okay, all right. I would love to hear it again. We had a lot of fun. I remember, the guys would stay up late into the night playing rope together. That was a big thing. You guys would play all night. Who was it? It was John and Bob and Marshall. Was there a fourth? John. Okay, all right, and Jim would too. Yeah, I mean, those things would go on just all night long. It was a lot of fun. But as I thought about discipling people and how then that plays into our lives today, I look around the room and I see pastors and I see Bible study leaders and I see parents and I see grandparents and I see all of you involved daily in things that are discipling others. What we learned we're still using today. So it's kind of exciting when we think about those things that were formed, even in our childhood, that we're still taking with us into today. As I also think back, I also think of music, because after all, my mom was the musician, and I kept up with it kind of, not as much as I wish I had it, but as much as I could. But one of the songs that keeps coming back to me still today, I have this darling little dog, and if you want to see her picture, I'd be happy to show you. But I take her for a walk every day, and still one song that comes to my mind is that Collegian's Prayer. Help me, Lord, to do thy will amid the conflict of this hour, waiting in my presence till my life reflects thy love and power. Fill my mind with thoughts ever pure, through my lips thy truth declare. Keep me in my love secure, O Lord, hear thou my prayer.
We're kind of out of sequence a little bit here, so we were going to try to break it up a little bit with music, but we have the quartet now first. So.
Oh.
So you want to lower that down?
No, I think this is fine. You can hear me? Well, it was a delight for me to be a sponsor. I still don't know how the parents allowed me to be a sponsor, but it was so much fun for me. And I admired the dedication that you kids had in not only learning how to sing and learning the words, but in learning how to share your testimony with those that you came in contact with in parks and shopping malls and churches. And it's a time that I will never forget, because I have seen a lot of youth groups since then, and I've never seen any dedication like I've seen with you guys. And so I really appreciate you. I remember some fun times too. I remember when we went to Corpus Christi, Texas, and Jack was with us. I don't know if you guys will remember that he had to go work on a simulator, Jack?
Yeah, his
In
space program.
the space program, but he wasn't strapped in quite right, and so part of his anatomy was hurting. Couldn't sit, couldn't stand, couldn't lay down, and the guys just razzed him and teased him, and so he got them back by poor Randy Brandberg was shopping in Six Flags Over Texas, and he said, this lady keeps following me everywhere I go. Jack said, that's because I told her you were a kleptomaniac. But you were talking about Phoenix. We had some fun things on Phoenix. We went to Buckeye. Does anybody remember Buckeye, Arizona? And the church that you went to sing at, and we did, and you shared afterwards. You shared with the high school kids there and the adults that were around, and we drove back the 50 miles to Phoenix and went to bed, and the phone rings, and the pastor says, I think you forgot one of your people. I said, oh, who was that? And he said, Bob Frederick? I said, yeah, he's our pastor's son. He said, well, you might want to come get him. So we did that. We're glad you're still here, Bob. And Marshall, you were talking about those pens. Well, Esther and I were in charge of keeping everybody clean. So we took all the laundry to a laundromat and used every laundromat that was available in this place. But those pants were heavy and they didn't get quite dry. So we hung them out the window of the cars on the way to church. And so the half that were out were a little brown from the dust. And the half that were in weren't dry yet. And so I wish you could have seen you guys. You thought you looked funny when they were dry. You have no idea how you guys came out with these wet pants, and you were just kind of shuffling along, and Esther and I felt so bad that there was nothing we could do, and we just sat back there and laughed. So we had wonderful memories, and you're a great group, and honestly, to see this many come back, it's just been such a privilege. So thank you.
It's tough to beat all these stories. Don, would you like to come up and share a couple of stories with us? Want me to lower this way down?
Yeah.
Do you want to, I don't know, can we have the microphone where he's sitting? It'll feed back too bad.
Sure.
If you really want to hear that.
Yes.
Okay, can we take the speaker out of I know Don's once you've always had the mic, we can never get it away from us. You just have to be behind the speaker, okay?
Now, I will need either someone to hold the mic for the Hollywood story.
One volunteers.
No, just stick it there and I'll come back.
Is that okay? Okay. You want this microphone? You want to sit and talk?
No, I'll have to stand up for that. No, Luann had told about how the guys kind of shuffled along when in their red pants. It was kind of like this. It's the way I normally walk. I have to throw in another little story here, and I probably shouldn't, but I will. Being a Macpherson, when we went to Scotland, we got kilts. Jim has kilts, I have kilts. My son-in-law Jerry got kilts, and so there came a question of, well, what does a gentleman wear, a Scotsman, under his kilts? Well, somebody told me that a good answer to that is, it depends on the quality of the wool. Okay, now, fast forward down to Mount Pleasant Baptist Church in Kentucky. And the senior group, actually the senior group is very much like they're my youth group, because my age difference from the average age of them is about the same as the age difference when Marge and Jack and Esther and I took over the junior high school group back at Galilee. Not the same age difference, so they're my youth group. Anyway, we were meeting for one of our monthly socials, and the ladies are all gathered together for some kind of an activity over there, and the fellows had nothing else to do, so of course we ended up around the coffee pot and that sort of thing. Well, trying to be funny, I said, well, do you guys know what a Scotsman wear under their kilts? And they said, no, tell us. And I said, well, it all depends. And one of the fellows jumped in and says, you wear depends? So you see the kind of respect that I get from my youth group then? Not the same as here. Okay. Now I think I need somebody, either somebody to hold the mic or stick it in the stand here. Okay. Just watch your feet. A little lower than the angels, maybe?
Well, once upon a time, there was this little hummingbird. It wasn't any bigger than the little part of your pinky there. Take a look, girls. Let me see your pinkies. Yeah, okay. Not your fellas, yours are too big. Okay. Yeah, okay. Karen, yours is about the right size. Take a look at Karen's little pinky. He wasn't any, yes. Kristen, I'm sorry. But usually you can get in a group like this and say Karen and everybody answers. But he was just a little teensy-weensy little thing. And he was sitting in his desk going, and his mom come over and says, I'm going to go fly away and get some din-din tonight. I'm going to go over to Kroger Gardens and we'll see what we can get in the way of pollen and maybe some nectar and stuff like that. Now, I want you to sit way back in the nest, because if you get too close to the edge, you know you'll fall over and you will hurt you in the body. So she said, oh, Mommy, I'll be good, I will. So she flew off, you know, the wings just were a whir like this, and she flew away. And so Little hummingbird sat back in the nest and go, well, he was a hummingbird. You know? Do you know why he hummed? He didn't know the words. I wonder what it looks like down there. I take a look. My mommy will never know. I say, oh my goodness, it's so high down. Oh, look, there's the green grass and there's bushes. Oh, but my goodness, oh, whoa! Fell down. He said, oh, I won't be able to. No, my wings is okay. If I could, I'd raise my leg. My little wings is okay. I guess I'm cool. Oh, when Mommy comes back, she's gonna be so mad at me. I know what I do. I will fly back up in the nest. I've seen my mommy do it. I'll do it too. Here we go. I think the wing loading is a little heavy. That ain't all it's a little heavy. They say, if at first you don't succeed, if at first you don't succeed, fly again. I would do this time. I will take a little run for it this time. I think I'm gonna have to take a big run for it. I'll run, fly back up in that tree. Okay. I think I got off on my story here. Yeah. I'm supposed to climb the tree. That's right. Okay. Anyway, that's what happens when you get old. You lose track. Okay. Well, I'm going to try real hard with this flying thing. Here we go.
I'm so sorry.
Actually, that'll keep your hair in place. Well, I guess I can't fly up the tree. My mommy's going to be so mad. I know I'll climb the tree. I've seen the mean old kitty cat do it. He can do it. I can do it. Here we go. I think this is a slippery elm. Take a little run for it. See, I've got animals. Take a little run for it. I'm going to have a big run for it. Here I go. Missed the tree. Okay. I guess I'm not going to be able to climb the tree after all. Your mommy could be so mad at me. I guess there's nothing to do but call me mommy. Have her help me back up. Hey, Mom!
I did want to say that I know many of you have expressed how much the new outlook on the caravans had influenced various parts of your life. And I do want to say that it has been one of the greatest parts of my life as well. I had a career in aerospace and other kinds of engineering, and I had a wonderful career, but I had a calling. And among young people, it seemed to be the place that it worked well, and there was chemistry there. And even today, I would like to do an intergenerational ministry. And they tell me that's how important that is, and yet it's very difficult to get involved because people look at me and say, the kids aren't going to want to have anything to do with them. And yet, even at this age, at this stage of my life, I find that interacting with kids still is a lot of fun, comes easy, and they seem to enjoy it as much as I do. I think one of the main reasons is because I never looked down on the kids. We just treat each other like that. I want to tell you though, as you recall, we used to, sometimes after the program, we'd get together with the young people, and when we would get together with the young people, the quartet would sing, and I'd tell a story, and then we'd do another 2 or 3 things. And eventually, I'd tell funny stories, mainly to kind of open the hearts and eventually get down to something that was meaningful. One of the most moving stories that I've ever heard was a story of a small woman dressed in black stood at the rail of an old rusting ship. And at the rail of that ship, she looked out at this island, large island, almost completely surrounded by steep granite cliffs. There were just 2 places where a ship had access. And it was those old steamers were the only ones that would go to remote places like that. The only way in those days that they could get to such an island. The lady looked out across the water at one little beach. On the other side of the island, far away, was what was known as Buccaneer Bay. Well, they didn't want to go there because the pirates were indeed a serious problem. All hands had been piped on deck to bid Maude Hamilton farewell. And those rough, crude sailors stood in a ragged line, their inferior best, to make a review line. As they started down the line, Maude stopped and shook hands with each one of those sailors individually. And she had a word for each one, a word of encouragement, and sometimes a word of admonition, but it was personal with each one. They had grown to love in a few weeks, respect, and even love this dear woman because of her concern for them. When at last she came to the end of the line, there stood the captain. He begged her not to go ashore. The name of the island was the Island of No Return. He explained to her that just 2 years before, he had dropped off an Irishman and a couple of his friends. An Irishman, Michael O'Leary, dropped him off, and they've never seen or heard anything of them since. She said, "Captain, you must put me ashore." And he says, "No, I refuse to do it. I will refund your money." She said, "You cannot do that. When you took my money, you knew the situation, and you contracted with me at that time to put me on that island. I insist that you keep your end of the bargain." The captain shook his head and reluctantly called the crew to come and prepare the boat to lower it and to roll her ashore so that they could put her and her baggage there. 3 men got in the boat, rowed up to the beach, Two of the men jumped out into knee-deep water. The third one handed Maud over into the cradled arms of the other two, and they carried her ashore, set her down, drive on the shore. Then they loaded her things and put them on the beach, and then they saluted her, rowed back to the ship, and she stood there and watched as her last link with civilization disappeared over the horizon. At last she turned and began to put together a backpack, which she would carry inland into the jungle in order to set up a camp for the night, and then she would explore and do more the next day. She got her backpack prepared and shouldered it. You wouldn't believe that such a tiny woman could bear such a heavy pack. But she started towards the dark green jungle. All the time that she had stood there on the beach, she had this eerie feeling that unseen eyes were watching her. Now, furtive movements in the foliage confirmed those suspicions. And just as she stepped into the shadows of that jungle, she remembered she had left her picture of Elvis Presley on the ship. And even worse, her Hannah Montana bandana. And her CD of the Jason Brothers. Oh, she was so disappointed. Well, it turned out that whereas they had said she shouldn't go ashore because there were cannibals on that island, well, it turned out there had been cannibals on that island, indeed. And but the witch doctors and the priests and religious leaders, they finally got rid of them because they were eating up all the profits. You can see this is going bad. Well, she made friends. She worked her magic with these natives that were there, and they loved her. And Jim, I'm going to need somebody to hold the mic for me. This part requires action. This young fellow, Mwabwa was his name. You can imagine what Mom called Mwabwa. Mwabwa also meant time for dinner. Mwabwa. At any rate, Mwabwa was a young lad, and he had this razor-sharp machete, and he just became so attached to Maud that when she went through the jungle on her little journeys, he would go through ahead of her with this machete, lopping off branches ahead of her so she could get through easily. One day, as they were going through the jungle, a venomous serpent came down and was right there in front of Maud's face. And just before he was ready to strike, Mwabwa swung that machete, locked the head right off of that serpent. Would have been okay, except he was pretty close. It slashed off her nose as well. And if you can imagine, see your nose run down the trail before you, and then was when she discovered that she really did have smelly feet. At any rate, she grabbed that nose, resourceful as she was, stuck it back up there, got some adhesive tape, held it in place, and because she acted so quickly, it grew back in place. The problem was she got it on upside down. And that wouldn't have been so bad, but during the monsoon season, when it rained and rained and rained, thank you, Jim, I can handle it. I appreciate my son helping me the way he does. When those monsoon rains, she almost drowned with that nose on upside down. And so she'd wear a hat to protect herself, but then the dry, dusty season would come along, and every time she'd sneeze, she'd blow off her hat. Well, there was a chieftain there that was in charge of all these tribes, and the chieftain had this wonderful grass hut that he built, palatial in their terms, and he had this throne made of ivory and gold and mahogany. It was a very ornate and expensive thing. And so, when she made acquaintance with the chief, he came under her spell as well. And she convinced him that he should sell that very valuable throne and use the money for the poor in his tribe. And oh yeah, he was so convinced he promised her he would. She went on to the next village, then to another village. In the meantime, the king kind of decided, well, he liked that throne business. So he sat back down on the throne, and the people brought him their goodies and bowed down to him, and he liked it pretty well. A couple of weeks later, one of his scouts came running in. Miss Hamilton's coming, Miss Hamilton's coming. Oh, the fellow panicked. What do I do? So he had a couple of his guys put that throne up into the kind of the attic, up in the eaves of his grass hut. And when Maud got there, there was no sign of the throne, so she commended him that he had followed through with his promises. And so then the hut began to tremble, and the weight of that throne just brought that whole thing down, which just proves the old adage, those who live in grass houses should not stow thrones. Well, she was coming up on her second anniversary of her landing on this island, and she decided that she'd like to celebrate it in some way. Well, she found out what had happened to Michael O'Rary and his companions. They had built a wonderful restaurant way up high on the mountain, overlooking all the beautiful view. She decided that she would save her money and she would go up there and have a dinner up there. So she climbed up that long trail up there on the anniversary, had a wonderful meal. Michael was the one who did most of the waiting, and so when she was finished, she had just enjoyed the meal so much, she paid the bill and came back down. When she got down, she realized she had forgotten to leave a gratuity. And so she decided, well, there's nothing to do but climb that mountain again. And as she did, she sang a song. It's a long way to Tipperary, it's a long way to go. Well, it also, it turned out that one day the natives all came hiding in the bushes. Hi, Miss Maud. Why? Because the pirates are down in the Buccaneer Bay, and they grab you and they take you off and sell you as a slave. She said, oh no, not I. And so she said, I will go down there and I'll work my charm on them as I have on all others. And so she went down and she started to talk with them, but they did not understand her. She did not understand them. And so her magic was gone. They grabbed her, tied her up, put her in a boat, and took her up, stuck her on the ship. Well, on the ship, they knew she couldn't get away, so they untied her. And one of the burly sailors started after her, and so she ran up to the mast, started climbing the mast. And that pirate with this knife in his teeth started up after him and after her. And as she got up in the crow's nest, she noticed that the ship was rolling with the tide like this. And here she was in the mast, and she was way out over the water. All she had to do was jump, and she was in the water, and she was a good swimmer. So she climbed up on the rail, hoist,
made a beautiful swan dive, but did not notice that the ship had actually gone this way, and she came down on that hard oaken deck. But you know, you'd have thought it had killed her, but she was used to hardships. But I also need to tell you that the captain of that ship, this is what's called a groaner. You only tell it to grown people. The captain of that pirate ship would pay $2 for every person that his sailors would kill when they would get on one of their rampages. And so when they killed somebody, they'd lop off each of their ears and shove the body overboard. Then after the fight was over, they'd come to the captain, and they lay down the ears of the people that they had killed, and so then he would dole out $1 each. And that's how pirates came to be known as buccaneers. I knew you'd want to know that. Well, Maud did finally get up and dashed to the rail, jumped over the side, clambered into a boat that was there, cut the rope, and took the oars and began to row off towards the sunset. Now, those of you who remember the old Western cowboy movies, the hero would ride into the sunset, and indeed, just the same, Maud Hamilton, at the end of this story, rode off into the sunset. Thank you. Go over my 3 minutes. They tell me that getting a little information from me is like trying to get a sip of water out of a fire hydrant.
Remember those dusty and wet trousers?
That's how Don McPherson could make one story last from Denver to Albuquerque.
He was making it up.
Oh, I'm sorry, but my brain doesn't work so bad. So I'm bumping.
Yes.
One other thing to say. You see that picture out there? Can you find Claudia on it? Yeah, what's she doing?
She's turning around, talking the other way.
She's talking to somebody behind her? That's the way Claudia was all during our rehearsal.
Something to say now.
Yes.
I know all of us just looked forward to coming and made an effort, traveling, and maybe our spouses sacrificed to get us here, just so we could see one another, and that's just been just awesome. But I know one of the biggest reasons I wanted to come was to say thank you. You know, Don and Luana, thank you for your investment in me and in all of us. And I think of Pastor Frederick just learning that the greatest joy in the Christian life is sharing my faith. And I still just, whether I have a classroom of students or we're on mission trips, that investment is still affecting me. And another thing too is just knowing that y'all took your vacations to do this. You know, we work with music ministers and youth ministers, and I've been on many mission trips, but that's part of their job, and then they still have vacation and leaves. And so I just say thank you. As an adult, my hat is off to you for doing that. So, and you know, I just say thank you to the adults here. You know, Marge Hood, when I was in George Washington, even the thuggy students loved her. All the kids loved her. And I just remember as a teenage girl thinking, her Christian witness is so cool at that school. And just all of these things, I just say thank you to the adults here, the Sunday school teachers, and especially Donna and Renee. Thank you.
We've got a couple more songs to sing, and then we'll open up the mic again after that. Our engineer has to be getting off to work, so if we could do the last two songs, that would be perfect. Do words and chords now. And I think we'd like the new Outlookers to come up here and sing, and let Don direct from here.
Don doesn't know this song.
Oh, do you want to do your song? Or
I'm words
my
and
own
chords.
Okay, yeah, all right. She's words and chords. So you're in charge of this song.
Okay, so one of the things I thought we could do to kind of shake it up is learn a new song.
Okay.
You want to do that? Woo! Okay, so you have in here, you've got the words and chords. And what I'm going to do first is teach you the song. Okay? And then Colin's going to play the track for us to sing the song. And at that point, I want all of you to come up and I'll direct you from out there. Okay? Does that work?
Yeah.
Are you guys ready for this?
Yeah.
All right, I don't sing, if you remember. I was the one that was off to the side that was doing the piano part. So I'm teaching a song to you, and I'm not really a singer, so you'll just have to put up with it, okay? So when you hear this 4 times, that means we're going to start. Okay, now I'm nervous, and this is squeaking at me. Okay, sorry, coach. Changing one life at a time. You ready to start that?
Yep.
All right, now that is a repeat. So it's New Outlook, Caravans for Christ, changing one life at a time. We'll sing that again, and then we'll add the line, one life that it changed was mine. You ready for that? Okay. New Outlook, Caravans for Christ, changing one life at a time. New Outlook, Caravans for Christ, one life that it changed was mine. Okay, here's a different part. Reaching out to those who did not know that Jesus Christ is our Lord. We help lead to a place where they could grow, using words and chords. Can we try that? I actually made several mistakes. So just pretend like you know it and sing it. Is that okay? I don't know why I'm nervous. I do this all the time. Play. Okay. Reaching out to those who did not know that Jesus Christ is our Lord. We help lead them to a place where they could grow, using words and chords. 3, 4, and we'll slow it down. Caravans for Christ. that's right there?
Right.
I think you're right in front of it. I just want this little weird thing on it. I'm so nervous. It's a great song. Yeah, well, it sounded really good at home. Especially yeah, it's pretty wet there. It's our house. Okay, so go ahead.
Changing one life at a time.
want to say one other thing. I went online and got some statistics. And your age group, when you were 17 about, your life expectancy, well, it was something like 73% of you would still be alive today. I do not know of the choir members. Now, some of the leaders passed on, but of the choir members themselves, I don't know of a single one of them has actually passed on.
Craig Wolf.
Who?
Craig Wolf.
Okay. Craig? Did he actually sing it? Craig? Sing it? There was a Mark Goldfin.
It was his older brother.
He what?
It was our older brother.
Your older brother? Okay. Did he sing in the choir? I didn't think that he did.
He's singing in one now.
Good job, good show. But I thought that was a marvelous statistic to think about. And I don't think it was because you were in the choir. But we have certainly been in this path. Thank you, guys.
There was just a request to do mine one more time, so if you guys can all stand up again, just where you're at, just do it one more time.
My gracious Lord, oh my sweet Lord, I give my all to
see it, I haven't seen it.
I don't know why you're doing it.
And then we'll be taking up now.
Okay, we need the video on the page.
Yeah, video and then we just film.
Can I start
Yeah,
something?
you can-
It all started right here at Galilee Baptist Church when Pastor Frederick, Byron Cressy, Don McPherson, countless others created New Outlook and Caravans for Christ. Caravans for Christ was a summer missionary project for high school students. If you were interested in participating, you submitted an application which was reviewed by a committee, and if selected, you attended training sessions where you learned how to share Jesus Christ with others. Some places we went to witness were Portland, Oregon, Phoenix, Arizona, and Padre Island near Corpus Christi, Texas. As to New Outlook, simply put, if you wanted in, you were in. This group, led by Don McPherson, was phenomenal. We sang our hearts out in Nebraska, Oregon, Utah, Texas, New Mexico, and several places in Colorado, including Cinderella City, which at the time was the premier indoor shopping center in Englewood, Colorado. As we gather this weekend for our 40th anniversary reunion, we are reminded of how thankful we are for having all the opportunities to carry the good news of Jesus Christ our Lord throughout this country. And as many have said, these events changed our lives and helped us become the people we are today.